Do you think it's
Okay.
possible that determinism may apply as a generalization? And if it does it have legitimacy in the sense that there are some human beings? Because I don't think this is a one or other. I personally believe that there are some people that are so influenced to the point where, for all means and purposes, they live in a deterministic universe. They don't believe in free will. They don't express any free agency because perhaps they're constructed in a way, or whatever it might be, the hidden forces have coalesced to bring about this individuated consciousness that simply just reacts to the forces that are working on them. And it may be the case that I'm hypothesizing here that perhaps there are some people that work within this space, and there are others that are so strong-willed that even despite their circumstances of nature and nurture, their consciousness, which is the third component, I'd say, this is kind of, I'm basing this off of Bruce Lipton's idea, like one of my favorite speakers on the topic of, I guess, what's it called, epigenetics, how your environment controls who you are, is a guy by Bruce Lipton, and he speaks about the third factor, consciousness. Now, I would argue not everyone has this in the same degree, that there are some people perhaps that, for all means and purposes, they're acting from their biological functions, from their environmental functions, to the point where it's any kind of individuated free will is negligible. And there are others perhaps that are, and if I just might add this a bit more, just to give it a bit more context, right, and then let you kind of address this. I say this because maybe this is my bias flowing through this, but there is this established concept within the occult, particularly within Gnosticism, right, of the undead. At least this is how I refer to it. Are you familiar with this concept?
I know some undeads, but I don't
Okay,
want to
yeah.
name
Well,
names, but
absolutely. You know, it's not it's not to be
they're
said in a
not all
kind of
lawyers either.
yeah, pernicious way. No, and they're not all politicians. And I don't say this in a pernicious way, even though the meaning does seem somewhat pernicious. I mean, I've heard other figures like Andrew Tate refer to people as barely sentient, you know, but it's this idea, it goes back to Gnosticism, right, that ultimately within the lore of Gnosticism, this universe is under control of a demiurge, and he's created these beings that, and some of them are essentially robots. Without going into the details, the lore, right, the idea is that there are these beings, and most of them are supposed to be non-theomorphic, meaning that for all means and purposes, they just act in accordance with their biological makeup. And then the true creations, they're kind of like they're people that are more conscious, more connected to God, Krishna, Buddha, Allah, call it what you will. They have a greater aspect of free will within them. So the idea is that there is a group of people they call the undead. They live their life in this state of input, output. They're focused on the physical. They don't have any idea of free will because they're simply responding to their input. And there are others that are less inclined to simply follow their input. These tend to be the misfits, the freaks, the people that tend to go against the grain, despite what the status quo is perpetuating. That don't seem to work in accordance with the collective, the hive mentality, which is more a product of your environment. But that's the basic concept of the undead. That most people, for all means and purposes, are effectively living in a deterministic worldview. What are your thoughts on that?
And you don't want to exclude politicians from this?
Well,
I'm
look,
a bit
I'm not even
confused.
saying I accept this, but I would say that definitely, I believe personally, I'll
Yeah.
let you go on, that I don't think it's a Boolean. Like, there are different levels. I, purely because I believe I have free will, believe that I have the capacity to change overcome influences more so. But it's what we call constitution, gumption. There are those that don't even believe that they have the ability, therefore. So politicians probably have a smaller amount. That's my response to that, of free will.
Well, let me try and unpack this because there's a few different things going on at once. If you have free will, or if you don't have free will, that's the case, whether or not you think you do. So I would say that one of the premises that was weaving in and out, one of the themes was, well, they don't think they have free will, so they don't. I think I do, so maybe I can make more of an impact. That doesn't really work. I mean, if you have free will, you could very well be misguided and think for any number of reasons that you don't.